Hey everybody, welcome to GolfNewsRI, the podcast, episode 3. Delighted to be joined by Larry Lafauci. Larry, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
So GolfNewsRI named you a player to watch in 2024. So I'm hoping that you live up to the hype. All right, so don't let me down. I'm just kidding. You're on an incredible run, which we'll get to. This year, for the first time, you're going down to the Gasparilla Invitational with Hamilton, Bobby Leopold, and Tyler Cook. 4 guys in the Gasparilla this year, which is pretty exciting. But just talk about being invited to that and getting an opportunity to go down there. And what I hear is a fun time. I've never played, obviously, but I hear it's a good time. We'll talk about that and getting into that tournament.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited about it. I didn't get to play last year. I had a national sales meeting for my company out in Vancouver. So, that, and I was a little confused on the whole application process for some reason. But I was in Vancouver the week before. I would have never made it back and been ready to try to play. But I'm definitely excited to have another opportunity at it and to go with down there and see those guys. I love spending time with, obviously I spent quite a bit of time with Mike here and gotten to know him. But, I enjoyed the time I've spent with Bobby and Tyler. I have a good time with those guys. I've been paired with Tyler a few times over the last few years, so I've gotten to know him really well. And, I enjoy spending time with him. We have a lot of laughs, and Bobby as well. I got to play with him in the Tri-States this year. So I'm just looking forward to the experience going down. I'm taking my family down. So, it's good to get away in the middle of the winter. And the golf part of it is, a bonus, and, you're either going to play good or you're not. There's really no in between this time of year.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for the experience.
For you, when you're playing in a tournament kind of this early in the season, at least for us, is early in the season. How much prep are you putting into that? I mean, how much are the clubs out already? Are you hitting the simulators somewhere?
Yeah.
How much prep is going into this? Because obviously you're a competitor, right? You're going on it for fun kind of thing, but you want to compete, you want to play well.
Yep.
So how much prep are you kind of putting into this thing, even though for us it's January and there's snow on the ground?
Yeah, no, right after Thanksgiving, I start, it's tough with the holidays, and obviously with my career, it's a busy time of year for me. But right around now, I started to just hit the gym, doing a lot of stuff in the gym with Mike Edwards, who's my golf PT guy.
Shore Golf Performance and Physical Therapy at
Yeah.
Country Club.
Yeah. So doing a lot of stuff with him, working on that. And then, whenever the simulator gets up here, and I've gone to X Golf a few times just to try to keep different movement patterns going. But, of course I want to compete and do well. But, you have to be realistic about what you're able to do right now. And there's just not a lot other than, indoor stuff. And you just really don't know how that's going to look when you get outdoors.
But you guys are all in the same boat. You're all kind of, I know Hamilton's down in Florida now, or he was down in Florida anyway. But that's kind of the same thing for all you guys, right? All 4 of you guys are kind of going down there, kind of cold, so to speak, in more ways than one.
Yeah,
that's why it's always so challenging for anybody to go play on the road like that, because we don't play half the season. Now all of a sudden, these kids in Florida, they play daily, and that gets, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I know Tyler's played a little bit this winter, but I know last week, I think I saw on Instagram, he was skiing, so I don't know what he's going to be doing. But I think we're all in the same boat, and the mass guys are too. But we're all trying to work on different things. Being addicted to golf, I drive my wife crazy because I'll be in the house and I'm always doing some type of golf move, or even when I'm out to dinner. So it's I'm always thinking about it. But again, you just have to keep your expectations kind of at a minimum at this time of year.
We did a big story about indoor golf in 2023 about the rise of all these indoor golf places, whether X Golf or Inside Links or Golf 365 RI, my friend Peter's place. And could that eventually kind of help change the game for us up here? Not so much for me, but for us up here, when you have the opportunity to go to these simulators and get your numbers and at least swing the club a little bit. Do you think that eventually could help change the game?
I don't know about change the game, but I think it definitely helps, in terms of preparation. Because there were, before this, you really didn't touch a golf club, or you swung in your garage for a little bit. But I definitely think it will help a little bit. I don't know about completely change it. but it definitely will give you a little bit more of a head start than you had before. And then being in the gym and doing the right things, I think that's the biggest thing you can do is just try to get your body right in the off season and try to perfect different movement patterns and work out. And, I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight. And, that's what I've been working on mostly and conditioning my body to get ready for the season.
When did golf start for you? What's the Larry Lafauci origin story? When did it start for you? Like when I asked John O'Clair this question, I had him on a few months ago, or whatever it was. And I said, when was that moment where you're like, okay, golf is gonna be my thing. However far that takes me, whatever it is,
Yeah.
but golf is my thing. When was that moment for you?
So my father played a lot of golf. He played in college at PC and, he was a state public links champ at a very young age. So he was a good player. And I think he made the quarterfinals of the state am when he was 13 back in the day. So I grew up in a golfing family and, my father started taking me out when I was 4 years old, to Triggs. And my grandmother lived down the street. That's where he kind of grew up over there in Truckstone Avenue. So, I used to go up with him a lot. And, I think there was one time I was like 6 years old. My father took me on the 14th hole at Triggs, which is that short par 3 down the hill. And
Yep.
I hit a 3-wood from the tee and I hit it like a line drive and it went right up that chute, the middle there and right on the green. And I guess ever since that point, I kind of fell in love with playing golf. And I love other sports. I mean, I love
Yeah.
basketball and baseball and football and all those other things, but yeah, I'm kind of an undersized person. I'm not a big guy. So golf was kind of the sport that I knew I was gonna kind of stick with and play. And then, obviously being up at Triggs when I was 9, 10 years old, my father used to get me up there. And then I stayed with my grandparents over the summers, starting at probably age of 11 to about 16 right before then I went to Metacomet after that. But for those years, I mean, as soon as school ended in June, I would pack my bags and go live at my grandparents' house near Triggs. And my grandfather would drop me off at 7 a.m, give me like $10 to get through the day with lunch and everything. And he'd pick me up at 7 o'clock at night, come home to their house. My grandmother would cook me dinner and go to bed and start all over the next day. So I used to literally be at Triggs from 7 a.m. to 7 at night, playing, chipping, putting. And obviously Carl Augustine was great in, giving me an opportunity to work up there, park some golf carts at 12 years old. And I could play, however many holes I wanted or as much golf as I wanted. So Carl really was kind of very influential in terms of my start in golf, with my father and giving me that, us that opportunity. So yeah, that's how I kind of fell in love with the game and then kind of just trickled into playing junior tournaments. And then when I got to Metacomet when I was 16, that's when really I started to really take it very seriously.
And I saw you at the RI Golf Hall of Fame ceremony, which was here at Kirkbride. Shocking, we're at Kirkbride. And you were talking about the Adamonises and how big they were for you and how they kind of
Yeah,
they
yeah.
really
Dave Adamonis Senior really kind of saved my life because, I didn't do very well in school. Unfortunately, when I was like 15 to like 17, I got in a lot of trouble in school and, it wasn't for anything academically. I just couldn't really stay in school because I was always getting in fights and getting in trouble and getting suspended. So it was not a good time for me in my childhood there with that stuff. But I really didn't have any options, and my grades were bad because I couldn't stay in school long enough. So I had to, when I was 18, I had to go to CCRI. I took a couple of classes, but I was at Metacomet. I really started to take my game to the next level, but I had nowhere to go because of the past mistakes I'd made. But then Dave Adamonis called me. It was like February of 2000 and said, I've got an opportunity for you. I'm taking over as the head golf coach at Johnson Wales University in Miami. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know Johnson Wales had a campus down there. Obviously I knew Providence because my father, teaches there, and has done that for many years. So, I knew about Providence. I had no idea about Miami. I had no idea that Dave was even thinking about doing that. Because it was like a year or two where I was out of the Challenge Cup, at 18. So I didn't even take a visit. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. He mentioned a few other guys that were going down there and he wanted to build a national championship contending team. And long story short, I get down there and, we went to we won our region the first year. got to play in national championships, and the first year we played a national championship out in New Mexico, I had a pretty good tournament, but that if that phone call doesn't happen, I don't know where I would have ended up.
And it didn't suck to be in Miami either.
It
I'm
did
sure.
not suck to be in Miami.
What's your best Metacom story, your best Metacom memory that you can tell? 'Cause I hear all kinds of stories from like Eugene, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't put that on.
I hung around with my friends there. A lot of them were older than my father's friends, but they became like they're part of my family, and they're not like the golfing. They played golf. They were very average golfers, but it was the camaraderie, the crazy stuff that went on there. Food fights, just wild drinking stories that just went on till 2 in the morning, 2, 3 in the morning. There's crazy stuff that happened. I hung around a lot with Joey Schifano,
Mhm.
and we had a lot of great memories up there playing golf together. But I can't really pinpoint one story. But
What a golf story, encore story, a great round or a great hole or a great something like that.
probably winning club championship was great for me there. Because I was
And back then,
18.
the Metacom Club Championship was like a thing. That was like
It was. I mean,
it was no joke.
Yeah, no, it got better as, when I left and to when Eugene obviously was there when I was there.
Mhm.
And Quigley and Susie, I got to meet Mike and Paul and play a lot of golf with them. So that was good. But yeah, I mean, the club championship was really tough then, and then it got even better like after I left in the, late 2000s when Jamie and all those guys were there. It was probably even better. But yeah, I mean, I there's so many good stories. I got to play a round of golf with, one day was me, Joey Schifano, Paul Quigley, and Mike Capone, and me and Paul beat Mike and Joey, which was pretty good because Mike was just kind of coming out and going to be turning professional. I did just turn professional, and Joey was Joey, and here's me and Paul just kind of bunting it along, and we beat those two guys, which was pretty good.
Will you go play Met Links when it opens in 2024?
No,
No,
no, I think
you want to keep the Metacom memories.
yeah, I
that
can't.
you
I
have.
can't go back there and look at that. That's just not what I'm. Those are the best times of my life, honestly.
Yeah.
Other than college, the times I spent there with my friends that ran the club, and there's so many great memories, so many great people there. I don't think I can step on that property without being a little disappointed in how it turned out. So I'm good with seeing that.
Fair enough. I feel like that's a lot of people's kind of thoughts on it. In fact, we have a survey going on right now. I don't know if you saw our first annual state of RI golf survey. And one of the questions is, will you go play Met Links? And as I hinted at yesterday, on the post, it's like a 50-50 split through 140 participants.
Oh, okay.
So people are split on it. But
Yeah,
anyways,
I'm not split on it. I'm
yeah.
not going.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So you do all that, and then you were telling me after I was talking to you on the phone one night, you was telling me that you kind of stepped away from competitive golf. Obviously, family and
Yep.
kids kind of took over, and then now recently, you come back strong. You and Tommy McCormick, who I know you guys are tight,
Mhm.
win the state four ball. You've obviously now won back-to-back RI mid-ams. You had the lead of the Burke this past year. I'm sure you
Yeah.
think you probably could have closed that one out, but
Yep.
we can get into that. But that process to come back into competitive golf for you, what was that like? What kind of, obviously your kids get older, you mentioned that to me, but what was that process like to get
Yeah,
back into
so my senior year in college, I started to really kind of struggle with golf a little bit. I got way too mechanical. I started working with a bunch, I was really blessed to work with a lot of great instructors down in Florida, Jim McLean, Mike Bender, and I just got too mechanical. I started to struggle, and I knew golf obviously wasn't going to be an option for me professionally, so I had to kind of get my career going. Started working at Johnson and Wales when Coach Adamonis got sick. And I ended up taking over the golf program from him, unfortunately, when he passed away. And the golf program at that time, because coach was ill, was kind of deteriorating, but I was able to keep it alive. And, I think people thought that, oh, still in Miami. I'm the director of golf at a golf program, that you must be playing a lot of golf, but you don't. And,
Right.
It was all about getting that program up and running, and then I get married, and then, have kids, and, it just was like, I couldn't dedicate the time to it. And, you know, if I couldn't dedicate the time, then what am I doing? I'm not going to get the results that I'm looking for. And it's kind of unrealistic. And even when I moved back, I ended up moving back here after I left running the golf program for 4 years at Johnson & Wales. When I moved back here in 2013, I had called Paul Quigley. I was in California at the time, working for Amgen, and I was out at a meeting, and I just called Paul and I was like, hey, you know, I'm thinking about coming back and playing golf. And the first thing he's like, well, how much time can you dedicate to practicing? And I'm like,
Mm.
okay, that's a problem. So, and his advice, I mean, he's always given me good advice. Unfortunately, I haven't always followed his advice sometimes. He gave me advice in college and I didn't follow that one, but I did give it to my students. So I
So hopefully-
heard his message. But this time I did and I just couldn't do it. I tried and I struggled so bad when I came to be a member here. And, you know, I was barely breaking 80 and it was just horrible. So, you know, I had to kind of rethink where what I needed to do. And my priority is my kids and my wife and
Yeah.
my job. I mean, so, you know, the RIG is not going to write me a check at the end of the year for the good tournaments I play. So, you know, I just kind of had to step away and stay in it a little bit. And Tommy's always been very encouraging to me. And I'm lucky I have good friends that, you know, keep pushing me. And Tommy's love sometimes is a little tough. You know, and he's let me have it a couple of times about, you know, what my expectations should be. And, you know, he was right. It was tough to hear, but he was right. And then as my kids got to be a little bit older and I got to take them out here, you know, I started to, you know, hold the club more, hit more balls, and then mentally, just trying to get mentally in the right spot, because I think that's something that's always held me back, even when I did play a lot, was I didn't have it upstairs all the time, and I tried to be too perfect, and I cared what everybody thought and what the expectations were, and that's where kind of I've really evolved and really gotten better, is my mental approach, and that's a lot to do with people that have helped me, like Tom and especially Mike Susi. Mike Susi's probably been the biggest help to my game over the last 2 years, being able to access Mike all the time whenever I want. And he's, you know, I've known Mike now over 20 years. I met him at Metacomet, like I said. So, but, you know, really reached out to him over the last 2 years and said, you know, hey, you know, here's what I want to do. And, you know, Mike doesn't hold back with me. He likes to tell me that, you know, if I'm being a moron, he'll let me know, which is good to hear. But I could take it from Mike because I've known him for so long, so it doesn't come across as like, oh, what is this guy telling me? You know, Mike's had so much success, but again, I know him and I know his heart's in the right place with me, and he's given me so much time and also confidence in, you know, what I should be doing and what I should be thinking about. And if I hit a bad shot, it's, you know, his message to me was, if you hit a bad shot, the first thing you should be thinking about is like, hey, I just didn't do what I was supposed to do. And before, it was always, I hit a bad shot. Okay, like my swing is off. What do I need to fix in my golf swing? And that was totally the wrong approach to it. And, you know, no, trusting that I have a good golf swing, that when it goes bad, it's just, hey, I'm just not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So let's figure out how to get it back on track. So, you know, I think the time is definitely a big thing. If you can't practice all the time, it's tough. And my practice is not anything great now. It's just, you know, I got to do, you know, there's still things I need to work on more. You know, I didn't have a great putting year this year, so I like to try to focus a little more on that. But when you're out there with your kids, you kind of got to pick and choose how much time you have. So, but I have more time than I have ever had in the past, and it's helped.
As far as confidence goes, how big was that 4-ball win? Even though it was a team event, but obviously you had to play well. You weren't just sitting in the car.
Yeah.
But how, as far as confidence goes on a state level, how big was getting that win to show you that you can, hey, you know, I can, you know, I can play.
No, it was huge. I mean, the last day I really helped Tom a lot, and you know, Tom's like kind of that anchor of consistency, and you know, I really wanted to help him, you know, and I really wanted to win it for him because, you know, I joke with him all the time, like I drive him crazy with some of my thoughts about the game, and when I start talking to him about my swing, I could just, you know, 2 seconds and he just starts getting aggravated with me. And that year, you know, we had a tough finish the year before, or the last one before, yeah, I think it was the COVID year. We had a tough outing at Potawatomi. And, you know, in 21, we get started in May, right before the tournament. He was on the 10th hole and I was on 17 here at Kirkbray. And, I'm over there doing some drill for my swing, and I just look over and he's holding his putter on the fairway because he had it on the green on 10, and he just looks over and I could see him just shaking his head. I'm like, I better play good this year. This guy's gonna just shag me. And I think Tom's done with me. So it was good to play good. And that last day I really kind of, played very well on the front nine, made some birdies for him, made a huge up and down. I believe it was on 11. And you know, played pretty consistent, and then Tom kind of closed the deal. So that was huge. It definitely gave me some confidence and momentum, but that only carries you so far because you got to really kind of do it on an individual level. But it definitely helped.
You carry whatever momentum you had into the mid-ams. Now you went back to back mid-ams. You told me at the time that the second one was kind of validation of the first one.
Yes.
What take us through those kind of tournaments? You don't have to play by play, but just take us through kind of those tournaments, kind of the mindset. What was that whole experience like
Well,
especially to close out that first one?
Yeah, the first one was kind of obviously, very unexpected. I'm sure nobody expected me to do that.
It was
And
a Triggs, right?
it was a trig, so it was
Which
very
was cool.
cool.
Like, yeah.
Yes,
just
very, very fitting. Thought a lot about my upbringing there, my grandparents, and my dad. So to do it there was special. Obviously, I was 1 over after the first day, and I was 1 over after 9 holes the second day. So, and then I just started lighting up the back nine, which I did the first day as well. But I just got off to such a bad start that tournament on the first like 5 or 6 holes of Triggs, which is, kind of unusual for me there. But yeah, I mean, I just tried to make good swings. I really didn't think I thought Bobby was kind of running away with it. And I was just happy when I got into 18 and said, hey, look, I shot 69. I made a good, I had a good finish. I'm probably going to finish second or third. And then when Bobby made, the triple, I think on 16, I'm like, geez, this is kind of getting real. And, being in a playoff with Tom, and I think it was Chris Flowers. I think it was the other guy from Connecticut. Yeah, that was kind of surreal because I was in a playoff with Tommy in one of our club events here, and I couldn't close the deal. And he told me, he's like, oh, it's good experience. You'll be in this spot again. I just didn't think it was going to be in that setting. And then to make that putt was great and close it out. It was just kind of an unbelievable feeling.
It's funny how I would say it's funny how the sports gods, if there is such thing, work, right? Like you're at Triggs in the mid-am, a place where you grew up, a place that also means a lot to Tommy.
Yep.
For obvious reasons, his
Yep.
dad and
Yep.
everything. Here you guys both are in a playoff.
Yeah, no, that
to
was
win the whole
yeah,
thing. It's funny how I always say it's funny how it doesn't happen often, but it's funny how the world works sometimes.
Yeah, no,
Those ways.
yeah, and I obviously always root for Tom.
Yep.
If I'm not doing well, I hope he's doing well, and I know vice versa. So for us, I think that was kind of a special thing. And, one of us made a putt, and, luckily it went my way there. But it was definitely a surreal experience at the time because I'm like, wow, this is like totally unexpected. And I knew coming into this year, one of my goals this year was just to be more consistent because that's something that I have struggled with getting back into competitive golf is, okay, I have one good tournament. How do I roll that into other tournaments? And I was kind of pissed off at myself this year because the stroke play, even though I made the cut, I played 2 bad rounds. The last 2 rounds weren't very good. I didn't have a high finish. State amateur, I was in the round of 16. Harry Dessel, who's a great player, obviously was in the finals, beat me pretty handily in the second round there. So I wanted to have a good stroke play, and I wanted to make the tri-state team, and I was really disappointed. Even though I made the cut, it's still like, hey, I need to be more consistent because if you look at all the top players in the state, that's one thing that they really are is they're consistently in the top 5 or 10 every year. It's the same guys. So going into the mid-amateur at Quinnipiac, that was kind of on my mind, and I just had a sense of calmness during that whole tournament. I didn't want to just blow up because I knew I was highly motivated, obviously, because I didn't want people to say, oh, this is kind of a one and done type deal. But did I go into it saying I'm going to win this tournament? No, I don't really do that. I'm not that good to say
that. I don't think there's too many people that do that in golf.
Yeah, I'm not that good to say those things, but I just wanted to play well and just prove that I belonged to be there, and that last year wasn't a complete fluke. So, I had a lot of motivation, and that's kind of is my general MO anyways with my personality. I always, whether it's true or not, I make believe that, everybody's against me. I like
Mm.
playing like the away team in sports. I like quiet in the crowd. So I tell myself all the time that, hey, nobody thinks you should be here. People think you stink. Whether that's true or not, that's what I tell myself. And so I just went into it just really calm and try to play well. And like I said in my interview with Joe McDonald, just try to keep it one shot at a time. And it was tough conditions. And to do that and to lead wire to wire was really kind of a exclamation point on that.
Wasn't the wind like crazy or something? Wasn't it?
Yeah, the
crazy
wind was
day or
was
something like
tough,
that?
but the tough part about, you could manage through that, but the greens were just, I mean, those are some of the toughest greens. I mean, even in the heyday of Metacomet, um, they were brutal. I mean, you get above the pin. I mean, I had the par three on the back 15. I had like 10 feet up above the hole for birdie on the second day, and I just tapped it and I ended up like 4 feet by, and luckily made it coming back. But those greens were absolutely torturous.
So you go to the Burke, you're in the lead after round one, I think at Newport, but the difficult thing with the Burke, and everyone's in the same situation, obviously, but it's two different courses. How hard is that to play really well at one course, then, so I think you play really well at Newport,
Yeah,
correct?
yep, yep.
If I remember correctly, then you had to go to Green Valley, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So how difficult is that, just in general, to go from one course? And that's how the tournament works. It is what it is, but how difficult is that to kind of take momentum? There is no momentum from one course to the other.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a little momentum as far as if you're hitting the ball good, you should be able to go to any place, but Green Valley is just a totally different place than Newport. And, I've never really played that well there. So I was a little nervous going in to that round,
Mhm.
which is odd because, I had all the momentum going my way. And I started off good and I hit the ball actually really well. I just didn't make anything. I putted terribly. I made no birdies, 4 bogeys. And yeah, it was disappointing, but Cam Mooney's played unbelievable golf and he deserved to win. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Cam did. Cam's a really good player and he shot a great number on that golf course. I think he shot 67 in the final round. That's unbelievable. That's a better 4 under than mine at Newport, I think. So, for me anyways, I'm more comfortable at Newport because I play there,
Mhm.
a decent amount. Tommy and I have played the Havamaya the last few years. So I'm comfortable at Newport. Only because when we played the Havamaya, we played in such terrible conditions and we're playing the back tees
Mhm.
there as a par 70. So I was really kind of pretty calm at Newport. Green Valley just for some reason it doesn't fit my eye that much. But I hit the ball okay. I didn't execute the way I should. And Cam deserved to win. He played great.
The Hatermeyer is a tournament I've recently learned about, and we try to get. It's obviously tough to get any results from anything at Newport Country Club. But the Hatermeyer is this famous tournament. Obviously, it's a great field every year.
Mhm.
This year, obviously, Jamie Lukowitz and Darren Currency took the W. But just to give people an idea of what that tournament is like, it's obviously a world famous tournament that no one really knows about.
Yeah,
Not
no,
many
I
people
mean,
know.
that's, yeah,
But
no.
what take people inside? What is that tournament like?
It's a great event. I mean, it's really, Newport is such a, obviously historic venue, but a great place to play golf. I mean, it's one of my favorite courses I think I've ever played. And just the feeling you get when you drive in
Mhm.
and the way they treat you there, the way they run the tournament, it's very professionally run. The dinner at night, the first night, but it's basically it's a 4 ball type event. You have a
Mhm.
partner, Tommy and I, and you're in a division with, and you're playing in our division, you're playing scratch. And, Tommy and I unfortunately have not been able to close the deal there. We've been in the finals, I think 2 out of the 3 years we've played. We lost to Bobby Leopold one year and his partner who was from, I think, Missouri or something. He was a really good player. And then obviously we lost to Darren and Jamie this year, or this past year.
Mhm.
But it's a great event. I mean, and you play the golf course, I mean, in rain, sleet, snow, it could be snow, and they're not gonna cancel the day. I mean, we got it cut short this year, was 9 holes because it was like torrent, like they had to pull us off. But if the greens weren't puddling, we would have still been out there. So you play in horrible conditions, which again is why when I got to the Burke and it was like 75 and a little bit of breeze, I was like, this is like perfect conditions. I'm not worried about this at all.
Last thing for me, and then I'll let you get back to whatever, I'm sure you have better things to do. But this year, obviously you have the Gasparilla, as we talked about. The winner of the RI Amateur gets a bid to the US Amateur this year, which is a pretty crazy thing. For you, what are your goals for this year? Do you have goals? Do you set kind of goals, or what's kind of the mindset as you start the season in just a couple of weeks, actually?
Yeah, just, I think first is being healthy enough to be able to play. I'm 43, I'll be 44 in September. So obviously to be healthy enough to play, uh, you know, in tournaments and feel good. As far as goals, I mean, I just want to be consistent. I mean, I think that, if I have that mentality, I know things will just take care of itself. If I play good, I'll, do well. If I don't play well, I'm not going to do too well. So for me, it's just, my goal every year is to just make the tri-state team. And to me, that's kind of like the model of consistency. If you're in that kind of conversation, then you're having a chance to win every tournament. So, whether I win or lose, I really don't look at it like that. I don't say, hey, the state amateurs at work or wherever it is, I want to win this event. I don't approach the game like that. I know people probably don't think so, but I'm pretty humble. I mean, I'm very opinionated, but I am very humble when it comes to golf. And, I don't really like to give myself any type of goals or mocks, because I just feel like in golf, the game is it's so fragile that you can, if you start putting marks up like, yeah, I want to win the state amateur because I want to play the US amateur, and if you don't play well at the state amateur, it could just ruin your confidence. So I don't do that. I think consistency, if I look at Bobby and Tyler and Jamie Lukowitz and these guys that make the tri-state teams every year, that's kind of the model of that I want to follow. Just be consistent, be in the conversation, and see what happens on the last day. Obviously anything can happen, as proof of me winning at Triggs that year. So if I'm around, then, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, at least I'm in the conversation, I'm there. So that's all I'm looking to do. And I learned that, pretty early in my golf career in terms of playing tournaments, is I set way too crazy expectations for myself. And I think that was, if I had to do it all over again, that's something that I would have changed. But I'm glad at 43, I'm learning it. I don't know how many more years I have left to play competitive golf. So I wish I knew what I know now before, but like I said, I just want to be consistent.
Well, good luck to you this season. We'll be watching.
Thank you.
Again, no pressure, but we did pick you as a player
Yeah,
to watch.
I no offense, I don't pay attention to all that.
I don't expect you to, but
Thank you.
thank
I appreciate the confidence, Bruce, but
thanks so much for coming on. I really
thanks.
appreciate it.
No problem, Joe. Thank
That's
you.
Larry Lafauci. This is the Golf News RI podcast, episode 3. We'll be back.